All right.
Okay, I think we're live. Let's hear it.
Oh, baby.
This is a crowd of excited space enthusiasts, Tim.
Yeah, these are my people.
Welcome to the SATGUS official launch party. We should be launching in about T-minus, what are we looking at from right now, Tim?
About 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes from now, over our shoulders there, a big old rocket's going to be headed to space, getting ready to poop out SATGUS at 5 miles per second, which is very fast. So welcome to the live stream. I'm joined here with Tim Dodd, also known as Everyday Astronaut, an absolute legend. Give it up for Tim. This is the guy who is, and this is actually a good opportunity to clear this up. There's a great video of him talking with Elon. He's like asking, getting a tour, and like real time in the video, Elon's like, oh, you know what? That's a good point. We should change that. And what they were talking about, like hot gas on the Starship, actually changed from this little interview they had. And 80% of people online think that was me behind the camera. So I'm here to clear it up.
It's like, it's not a random YouTuber, it's Mark Rober. He works for NASA.
Exactly. Stolen valor on my part. I'm giving that to Tim. Yeah.
And you guys, I don't have to probably introduce this guy, but this is a squirrel trainer slash glitter expert, Mark Rober. You're probably already familiar with him.
Tim, why don't you tell us, give us a high level what we should expect to see here today.
Well, we're going to be seeing a rocket launch today. And as those of you here on site know, we're in Lompoc, and we're outside of Vandenberg Space Force Base. We're right on the borders of it. So this launch is going to be taking off from Slick 4E, which is the launch pad that SpaceX takes off from. And it's going to be their Falcon 9 rocket. It's Block 5. It's their most. It's like very prolific rocket. This one in particular, let me see here, is booster 10. This is crazy. I just found this out today. 1088-2. You're only the second launch of this booster, which is actually rare these days because they're flying. They just the other day flew a booster for 25 times. So you've got a fresh one.
Yeah, that doesn't make me feel great, Tim.
Yeah, I don't know if that's these days. That's almost a bad thing. Like, it's not.
I want heritage.
Yeah, heritage. It's going to be taking off from Slick 4E, like I said. At the current launch countdown time is we're looking at was it 11:11 or 11:09? 09. Thank you. It moved 20 minutes into its 30-minute launch window. So they have 30 minutes. They pushed it into the launch window, but we're still looking good so far. We haven't heard any updates yet.
So you have 30 minutes to launch. If we don't do it, that's called a scrub. And then that means we can't launch it today, right? So we've already used up 20 of those minutes. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
If anyone has a flight out today, you're especially cross them hard.
Including me. I've got a red eye back to Texas to see Starship tomorrow. So I really hope this thing's going. So the destination, SATGUS is heading out into a sun-synchronous orbit.
Yes.
Which means it's going to be flying over the North and South Poles. It's in a polar orbit, and it's going to be relative to the sun in the same position every time it passes Earth. So the pictures looking down will always have the same sun angle.
Every cool. 90 minutes. That's the beauty of traveling 5 miles per second, is you can orbit the Earth in 90 minutes. So as you guys are getting your satellites, your pictures from space, that's how it can just take the pictures it needs to, because the Earth spins underneath it, and then it covers all of Earth. It's the same orbit the spy satellites have. SpaceX doesn't like when I say that.
They don't.
I just keep doing it.
So this is the payload on this. There's 131 payloads on this thing. So 131 satellites stuffed inside the fairing. This isn't actually a fairing, but pretend it is. The top of the rocket. 131 others, well, 131 others, and SATGUS, the most important.
Yeah, I like it. There was going to be 130, and the most important, SATGUS, is that 131st.
Yes. Altogether, they're only about 2,000 kilograms, so about 4,400 pounds worth of mass, which is actually not a lot of mass for the Falcon 9. The Falcon 9 is extremely capable, can lift over 15 tons. So we're talking about, this is like easy peasy for it.
And the good news because of that is if you have a lighter payload, it means it doesn't take as much energy to come back and land back at the pad with stage 2, right?
Stage 1.
Yeah, stage 1, I mean. So we're going to have a very fun re-entry for stage 1, and we all get to feel a sonic boom. You'll hear it, you'll feel it. It's going to be out a minute after you see it. Yeah. It's going to take all those air molecules to bump into each other, and then finally we'll feel it here, and there will be no mistaking when it happens.
And interestingly, you'll actually hear 2 sonic booms. It'll go pop pop, like that. So pay attention to that when it comes in for reentry. You're going to hear this distinct pop, and that's because it has some features that are like grid fins that are a slightly offset from the main. So it's going to have a sonic boom coming from its front or from the where it's reentry, engines first, and the grid fins in the top of the rocket also make their own sonic boom. So they're spaced out a little bit.
Really?
So the boom boom, it's just the top and the bottom of the rocket hitting you at
That's
slightly
wild.
different times.
I've always heard that, but I didn't realize it was two separate.
So you could actually calculate how tall the rocket is by the
sound.
Yep, the sound.
That's
there.
amazing. We have like a rundown video, right, of what's actually going to happen. Let's show that, Tim, and why don't you kind of narrate us through what's going to happen beat by beat here when we pull that up.
Yeah, we'll pull up a video here that's kind of an overview of everything that we expect to see today. It might take us just a second. Oh, look, we actually do have a countdown timer here now, too. That's nice.
Oh, so that's launch, right?
That's launch.
Wow.
Yep, launch in T-minus.
So we should get the SpaceX feed in maybe about 6 minutes, and that's where we see the beautiful shots of the rocket on the pad.
Hopefully within the next 10 minutes we get views of the rocket.
True, yeah.
Because for us, for those of you at home, you can't probably tell, but the beautiful thing about Vandenberg is that it's beautiful, I guess.
Yeah,
Just
that's what I always
geography-wise.
say.
The beautiful thing about Vandenberg is that it's beautiful.
beautiful.
That's your old saying. The bad thing about that is that it's hilly, and we don't have a direct line of sight until it lifts off. So after only about 2 or 3 seconds, we'll see the nose cone popping up right over those mountains right there. So positive, negative, it's beautiful, but unfortunately it means we can't see it.
I've got 3 masses.
Okay.
Okay, so we're about to have a video. Oh, that was I think the wrong one actually. Yeah.
The disembodied voice of Mark. I mean, I'll say today, I've got a few concerns, Tim.
Yeah.
I slept worse. It's probably in over a year. I had the worst night of sleep last night because I'm kind of nervous. I know it's like one of those nervous energy excitement things. There's a million things that could go wrong at a space launch, and only one of them is good. Which is like a nominal launch where it actually goes to space. So one of the things I'm worried about is obviously the shaking. It's very, very violent.
Yeah.
And this is SATGUS. You know, relatively speaking, it's a delicate piece of hardware. And, I talked about this in the video, but at launch, it's not just that it's shaking so violently, but if you have a resonant frequency, which is kind of like if you're shaking at the same speed of the rocket, then you get this runaway effect, and it just shakes it to death. And so even if, we survive the launch today, we have to wait about, 3 weeks before we get the first picture. So unfortunately, I don't start sleeping well tonight, even if it goes to space, right? Because did it survive the shaking, right? So that's question number one. The other thing I'm really worried about is once you get to space, you guys remember the 4 ways space tries to kill you? Okay, hit me. What are the ways the 4 ways space tries to kill you? Yeah. Okay, I heard temperature. It gets really, really hot, really, really cold. Give me another one. You guys just shout them out. Okay, wow, that was a lot.
That was a big one. Everyone's like, yeah, radiation.
You sunburn to death, right? Radiation. 1 hour in space is the same as 1 year on Earth. As far as exposure, you get the equal sunburn, like 1 hour in space versus because we have this beautiful ozone. Yes, it tries to vacuum you to death. Here we have all these air molecules pushing down all around us. In space, you don't. So there can be things on the satellite that break when you don't have that. And what's the fourth one? Shake you to death, which I started with, right? So yeah, it's not exactly, even if the launch goes well, it's still a fingers crossed moment for us to be getting our selfies back. But I do love this idea that the electrons that make up you, if you have uploaded a picture to the satellite, you will be launching today over that hill. We're all on this rocket together, digitally speaking. What about you, Tim? Tell me about the actual launch and help either appease my nerves or make them worse.
Well, good news, bad news is you're flying on the most reliable rocket ever built so far.
That feels good.
Falcon 9. Bad news is it's still a rocket going to space. So there's a saying I think there's a saying just in life, but especially in the aerospace industry of there's unknown unknowns. So even though these rockets have flown 438 times actually, hang on, I might have a cheat sheet on this. Let's see. 424th SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launch so far. And only 3 of those ever have failed. So your odds on that end are pretty darn good. However, you never know one of those unknowns. There's something that they've never, ever, ever seen before. That's a risk on every single launch. There could be something that they've never noticed, never seen in data, never seen in testing, that crops its ugly head up for the first time ever out of a million chances that one time, you never know.
We were talking with the lead engineer yesterday, who was I think he said, the 40th SpaceX employee.
Yeah,
really
John
cool guy.
Edwards.
John Edwards. And he told us every single flight that goes up, they're still learning something new. Because they've only flown 435 of these, right? If you think of like an airplane, at this moment, there's 10,000 airplanes in the sky, right? Those are just so reliable. But a total of 435. So still, every single launch, they're like, I never noticed that before. Let's write that down.
In the grand scheme of things, rocket and spaceflight is still, we're baby steps at this point. Compared to especially, aviation. We all hop on a plane today. You don't think about it at all. But there's still a lot of things that are being tweaked, improved, and learned on every single rocket launch.
Yeah, hopefully we don't learn that much today.
Well, the crazy thing is, like we said, there's 131 satellites on this payload, on the rocket. So
Right.
there's so many other companies even that are also sitting there going,
True.
hope this thing works. Like, you're not alone in that, at least, if that's any,
I suppose that's
solace.
true.
Yeah. So that's kind of the general overview of what I'm worried about is, will the rocket perform? I'm a rocket guy. I have faith in the rocket. I think it's going to, not only will we see it launch, but I think it's going to put on an even better show. We get the bonus show of seeing it land here. Which
I mean, the good omen is this weather, right? Like, this is super, super rare for here, right?
Yeah. Tell me about it.
In fact, this is your 4th time you've tried to see a launch here, right?
Yeah. I have been coming out here. So I normally see launches in Texas and Florida. Every time I've come out here, I can't see, to the inflatable over there. It's so foggy. They call it Vandenberg or Vandenfog. Both of them. It's just this place is well known for its marine layer, its fog, which is actually half the reason why they.
I heard this, right? This is such a cool fact.
So Vandenberg Space Force Base is there's a lot of intercontinental ballistic missiles and defense systems that are hidden amongst the hills. So the fact that it often is foggy is actually a good thing as far as intelligence. And
That's why they
counterintelligence.
chose it way back in the day here. So if the other team had satellites to be spying, it just always had fog, so you couldn't pick out where the ICBMs were.
Can't see what's going on. So that's normally really bad. And like I said, I still have yet to actually see with my eyeballs. I've felt them, heard them, but never seen a rocket from Vandenberg. I've been in a plane and saw a rocket from Vandenberg, but I've never actually been on the ground here in Lompoc and seen a rocket launch from here. So
that's a good omen. The 20-minute.
this is the clearest sky I've ever seen out here, period.
The 20-minute pushback makes me a little nervous. The fact that the weather's so good calms my soul a bit.
It should, because honestly, it does not get better than this as far as that. I mean, even for being here. I mean, it was a little chilly this morning, but right now, this is amazing.
That's true.
So we got that. So at least we have a very decent chance of actually being able to see it. It's going to be a clear enough sky that I think we'll be able to track it all the way. Now, here's what's going to happen is it's going to be taking off. So if you can see, there's one tower that you see over the hill there. And that is not the tower where it's taking off from. That's an old Atlas pad. The Falcon 9 is going to take off just to the left. You can kind of see a dirt road that's kind of angled up to the left. And then if you keep going a little bit more, you kind of see these kind of two humps. It's going to be pretty much right there at the two humps. So for you guys right here, basically look straight at us, and it's going to be right over our shoulders. And then what's happening is it's going to be launching south. It's actually going to be launching south, and that's how it gets into this polar orbit, into the sun-synchronous orbit. And that will take it over the South Pole and back over the North Pole. It's going to be orbiting that way. And that way, the big thing with rockets is because they're still basically giant flying bombs, they're not overflying population.
Right.
So normally, like a normal rocket launch, you tend to want to fly east because you get the rotation of the Earth.
Right.
It
that
gives
extra energy to get to Mars.
Exactly. So Florida is a great example. Starbase Texas, launch pads, and the Guyana Space Center down in French Guiana in South America.
And not just east, but the closer to the equator, the better, because you have that extra energy, right? You need less fuel to get going up to speed.
Yes.
But Vandenberg's great because it's one of the few spots in the United States where you could launch south and actually be over water. Tim said, because it's just safer.
Yep. So that's why we're going to see it arc to our left, and because the sky is so clear, it'll be way up, but you'll start to see it kind of pitch left, and it's called the gravity turn, because the rocket not only has to go up. If it just went straight up, and then cut off its engines, it falls straight back down.
Right.
Because that's what
how
gravity
gravity
does.
works.
Yeah. So the way you outrun gravity almost is you have to be going sideways extremely fast. The magic number here in miles an hour is 17,500 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Sideways. At that point, you're falling at the same rate that gravity's pulling you down.
Yeah.
And you'll never intercept at the ground. If you think about like throwing a ball.
Such a cool
it
analogy.
arcs.
Where it's like, if I threw a ball hard enough, I'm obviously going to hit the ground over there.
Yeah.
If I throw it really, really hard, it's going to hit the ground over there. If I throw it even harder, like a cannonball, it's going to hit the ground at that hill.
Yeah.
But then if I throw it at 17,000 miles an hour, by the time it starts falling, there's just nothing there. Like you've made it out over the Earth, and then you just
Keep going.
keep falling. And like that's what orbit is. It's just continuously falling. And then eventually, there are some air molecules up there. Not a lot. It's very, very thin. But you are bumping into some things. And so over time, you kind of slow down a little bit. And that's the same with Fat Gus. We don't really know. It depends on a lot of things. But the life of Fat Gus could be anywhere from like a year to 10 years.
Fat Gus or Sat Gus? Did
Sorry.
you put Fat Gus in there?
The life of Fat Gus.
I hope you didn't. because
This is a great time to announce we have put a live squirrel on the satellite.
First squirrel astronaut.
This is a first for
First squirrel
space.
astronaut, yep.
Yeah. Tim, can you go into your comms and see? Because we should be getting a live feed here, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, this, hopefully that doesn't mean there's anything wrong. I'll follow up with the team. You keep talking about,
Okay.
They get quite the view.
Oh, they waved the wings. Very cool.
Different wings at us. That's the beauty of, we're actually at an airport here
I
in
know.
Lompoc, which is really cool, actually. It's a fantastic view. I'll check in with our team and see if we have any updates on SpaceX's feed.
Oh,
As
there
we
she
say.
is.
Woo! Okay, so this is a live shot of the actual Falcon 9 rocket with SatGUS on
The
top.
SATGUS is in there, you guys. Your pictures. You are in that fairing.
That gives me goosebumps.
That gives me and like butterflies.
Yeah.
That's it. That thing is about to be traveling very, very, very fast.
Now, I got to say, it's a little bit deceiving. Right now, we're just seeing some pixels on screen, but this thing's actually huge.
Right.
It's it's about 22 stories tall.
Wow.
So imagine, that's a pretty good-sized building.
We're sending a building to space today.
Yeah. You could fit a school bus inside that fairing on top, the nose cone. You could fit an entire school bus in there, and it can easily launch a school bus. It can carry 16,800 kilograms. It could launch multiple school buses en masse. It's a very powerful rocket, but it's just deceiving how big it actually is. Because if you see a person next to it, they're just itty-bitty.
Right.
This thing is deceivingly big.
Yeah, and so there's fuel tanks. They'll probably start filling those soon, I guess they probably are already doing it, right?
Absolutely. Fuel up began at T-minus 35 minute was prop load. And they should be well into the second stage filling. So
9 minutes at the bottom. Okay, so you guys may not be able to see that in the audience, but right there at the bottom, here we go. It's T-minus 9 minutes.
Yep, 9 minutes.
So this is happening, people.
Oh, my word. And yes, that is so great. And you'll see, it might be easier to see for those folks at home, and it is a very common question, is you'll notice what looks like smoke pouring off the rocket.
Yeah, that feels like a bad sign, Tim.
That's actually completely normal. That's a good sign.
Oh, okay.
It's not actually smoke. It's condensation on the rocket because the rocket has a mixture of liquid oxygen, which is extremely cold, cryogenic, and RP1, which is their propellant, which is
like refined
paralyzed.
jet fuel, right?
Exactly, refined jet fuel. So each stage has both liquid oxygen and the RP1 propellant. And the liquid oxygen is so cold sitting inside these thin aluminum tanks that it's coming in contact with the moisture in the air. And it might even form ice on the sides of the rocket.
Wow.
And then also have all this condensation pouring off because the air is just condensing and turning into those vapors that you see. So what looks like smoke coming off the rocket before it's launching isn't because it's hot. It's because it's freezing cold.
Right. And so it's I think when it turns to a gaseous form, it takes up 100 times the volume as a liquid, right?
1,000 times.
Okay, 1,000.
It expands 1,000 times going from liquid to gas.
And so there's supposed to be pressure valves that need to shoot that out as it warms up, right?
Imagine if you had a closed soda can or something, or something, and if you tried to expand one of your little liquid molecules 1,000 times,
Right.
and you didn't have a way to vent it,
Right.
it'd rupture.
Yes.
And that's basically what a rocket's basically propellant with skin on it. So they really have to control and make sure they have the pressure inside the rocket perfect.
Okay, we're looking at other questions here coming in from the stream. Let's see. What about, let's see, talk about how it lands.
Oh, this is one of my favorite
Actually,
topics.
talk about
I was
there's the
gonna say,
fins, right?
That could be like a
grid
4-hour
fins
long
first.
thing.
What's the purpose of the grid fins?
Yes. So right now, as you see on the rocket, they're actually tucked in. These are called grid fins.
Yeah.
And on ascent, they want them to be out of the airstream, so they're not like making the
Creating
rocket
drag.
creating drag and creating wobbleness. You'll see on this is good timing. Thank you, SpaceX. Right at the top of the first stage, that black section, the grid fins are tucked away right now. After stage separation, so after the first and second stage separates, the second stage is going to keep on going into orbit. The first stage will have done about a quarter the amount of the work. It's getting up to 4,000 miles an hour or so.
But it's also going through the thick atmosphere, so that's like a harder,
Exactly. It got through the atmosphere, got above the atmosphere. It's done a lot of the heavy lifting, literally.
Yeah.
And then, after it lets go of the upper stage, and the upper stage is continuing to orbit, it does a flip maneuver. Mm-hmm. It's going to boost back. So that's what we'll actually hopefully be able to see that on a day like today. We'll see the boost back burn. Then it's going to fall back to where we are. And as it's falling, it's going to deploy these grid fins.
Yeah.
And these help it steer precisely back through the atmosphere.
Just by dragging, and if you turn it, there's less drag and more?
It's not so much drag, it's deflection of the airflow. It's almost just like a normal canard or like
like a wing.
It's actually like a million tiny wings in there.
Got it. Yeah.
So it doesn't, from the line of sight, you can see right through it. It's very low drag, but it's changing the angle at which so that puts some pitch and yaw and roll into it, and that will steer it right back down, right next to where it took off.
And obviously, that's as you guys know, that was kind of a big innovation of SpaceX. That's what's made it so much less expensive, because you don't have to throw this thing away, every time, which is what was being done before.
$1 rocket.
Yeah.
$100 million rocket. You're not just throwing it in the ocean.
Oh boy, we got 6 minutes. Are you guys feeling it? Okay, because I'm feeling it.
How many of you have actually seen a rocket launch before?
Okay,
that's
maybe
pretty good.
10%.
Video.
When I get nervous, this is a little thing about Mark Rober. I sway. I put my weight from foot to foot, so I cannot stop what's happening right now.
It's understandable. So how many? So raise of hands real quick. Who has not ever seen a rocket launch with their own eyes? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You guys are in for a treat. Honestly, of all launches, I think Starship might still take the cake. It's the world's largest operating rocket, or not operating yet. It's a test rocket for now, flying out of Starbase in Texas. They have a launch hopefully tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow afternoon is going to be the 7th flight. That's kind of steals the show a little bit. Just biggest, most powerful, loudest. Next best is this.
Oh yeah.
Because it's a booster landing. It's a Falcon 9. It's a clear day. It does not get better than this. Other than that one.
5 minutes.
T-5 minutes.
Okay, I heard it's gonna feel like an earthquake when that sonic boom comes. What do you think, Tim?
Sonic boom will just be very percussive, very quick, just like boom, one shot and it's done.
And if you're like, did I hear it or not? I promise you haven't heard it. Like, you'll know. There'll be no confusion. This is actually a cool thing. Like, you guys know what the first sort of sonic boom that humans ever experienced? This happened long before we built any technology. Does anyone know? No, cavemen knew about this, sonic booms. Yes, right? Not even whip, even before that. Thunder. So basically when lightning happens, it superheats the air around it. The air molecules move so fast because they expand, they move faster than the speed of sound, and that is thunder. It's basically a sonic boom you're hearing. And as you know, you can count how far you're away because the speed of sound travels, 8 seconds per mile? That's how we know how far we are. It's going to take about a minute because we're about 7 miles from where it is.
Yeah. And that's also on ascent. We won't feel and hear the engines rumbling until about almost a full minute into flight. And then you're going to hear it. And it's also a little bit special because, again, that hill blocks kind of the first bit of sound. So at first you might be like, that's it.
Yeah.
And then once it starts to get up, it'll be flying for a while, though. And then all of a sudden you'll hear it. And from here, you'll probably feel it a decent amount, too. I don't know if it's going to be shaking stuff, but you'll know.
And Tim, over there, they're kind of going through a procedure, right? Like, how do they know it's good to launch? We're at 3 minutes and 27 seconds. What's happening over there?
So they're about to do. So they did a pre-prop load go no go poll, but they're coming up on their own go no go poll. But
there's the smoke coming out, or the vapor.
Exactly, the condensation pouring out of the rocket. You can see it venting. We just got through what's called strong back retract. So see the tower off to the side of the rocket there. That's what it's called, the transporter erector, or the strong back. And it is what rolled out. We missed it rolling out last night.
We got the footage.
Okay, we did. Oh, that's good. We have the footage of it rolling out of the hangar, and then it gets stood up by the tower there. But now that it's vertical, the rocket is supporting its own weight on the launch pad, and the transporter erector is just starting to recline a little bit. So if there was a reason that they had to scrub, now the tower can hug it again, and they can detank it. But when it's full of propellant and it's pressurized, it will maintain standing no problem. Now the fun thing is right at T0, that strong back looks like it's going to fall. It goes 45 degrees, so it doesn't get incinerated by the exhaust.
That's supposed to happen.
That is supposed to happen.
And so they're going to go through, and there's critical people, maybe one person's in charge of propulsion, maybe one person's in charge of making the areas clear. Everyone has a role, and they say, how do we look? And they say nominal. You want to hear nominal, right? Because that means like you're middle of the bell curve, you're where you want to be. So they're kind of already probably going through some of those over there with 2 minutes down. The fact that it's retracted is a good sign, right? This is looking like it's going to happen.
Exactly. That is a good sign. And we're about to see, it's at 1 minute, we're going to have it go into terminal count. So that at that point, the rocket is completely in control of everything. It's the final, it's in startup. So it's going to be going through all of its bells and whistles. It's going to start, they've already begun chilling the engines down. Here's a fun fact. You think of a rocket engine as extremely hot, but it has to take that liquid oxygen that's minus 163 degrees, spin it through a pump at like thousands of RPM, and if they don't cool the engines, the pumps, and all the bell down before they start that propellant flowing, it'll just shatter. It'll be brittle.
Let's not say that, Tim. With a minute 30 left. Tim, I want your go, no go.
I'm go.
They're waiting to say theirs, but we need our official one here. Tim, are you nominal?
I'm nominal. I'm go for
You're
launch.
nominal.
How about you, Mark?
I'm nominal. My heart is like, you can see it through my shirt. But I need to know if you guys are nominal. Are you guys good to launch? All right, let me tweet Elon and tell him we're good here. All right, that'll do the final clear. We are less than a minute out. When we've got 20 seconds, I'm going to need you guys to count this down, and they need to hear you at the launch pad, okay?
So there is a tiny, like maybe only a half a second delay, but it should line up perfectly. When we see 0, there's a good chance within about a second or two we'll see it clearing the mountaintop from here.
This is like 3 years of blood, sweat, tears, hard work from me and my team. You guys have put your satellites there. There is a lot on the line here.
This is it, Mark.
Okay.
Here we go.
27 seconds. We're about ready to start counting down. We need your help. Okay, here we go. 20, 10, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We have engine ignition. Lift off. We're going to see this thing. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go, seconds. There it is. There it is, baby. Yes, dude.
There it is.
Yeah. Let's go, baby.
That's a rocket.
SATGUS is in the air, baby. It is ascending on 9 Merlin engines, propelling it into space. We're about to hear the sound here, probably in about 20 seconds or so. We'll start hearing and feeling that rumble. Look at that. It's glowing extremely bright because of the carbon being burnt off in the kerosene. So that's why it's so bright. It's almost as bright as the sun. So you'll notice it actually will dim out, and it will start to get dimmer as the atmosphere thins. That's the rumble I'm talking about.
That's the rumble.
That's what I live for, Mark.
Wow.
Right there.
That's incredible.
There. That's a 22-story tall building flying into space.
Just fighting gravity. Look at just how long that takes. Wow.
Condensation off the rocket right now. It's
Oh, feel that rumble.
Yes, and the beautiful thing is it's approaching max Q, which is the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure. So that's when the rocket is experiencing the most stress. From here on, after that point, it gets easier because the atmosphere gets thinner.
So if we've made it past that, at this point, if SATGUS has made it or not, it's kind of over.
So you'll notice the glow is actually getting dimmer, though, because it's now in the higher atmosphere. It's starting to get out of the atmosphere. As it gets higher and higher, that will dim and dim and dim down to almost nothing, and you will hardly be able to see the exhaust coming out of it. So it's going to be harder and harder to track, and for us down here, it's getting a little bit closer and closer to the sun. But yes, everything is still absolutely phenomenal.
That is so cool.
Yep, everything's looking good. Now, the next event we're about to see is stage separation. So that's when the booster is going to separate from the upper stage. And so we're going to see the 9 Merlin engines cut off. We'll actually see that in the smoke trail. The 9 engines will cut off here in a second. It'll coast for a little bit. Then the second stage is going to, right there, that was main engine cut off.
Whoa.
Now we're going to see the second stage eject, and we're going to start seeing my favorite thing in the world. It's the boost backburn. So there's second stage ignition. That's second stage ignition. Now we're running on the single Merlin 1D vacuum engine. And the booster is turning around right now.
Wow.
And it's going to light its engines again for the boost backburn. There it is. You can start to see that extra exhaust going almost the wrong way. That's the booster coming home, guys.
No way.
That's the booster coming home. Yep. So we're about to see it's actually heading right back to us right now. It's using 3 of its 9 Merlin engines, and those are propelling it so its trajectory lines back up with the landing pad here. So this thing right now is, for reference, it's 96 kilometers in altitude, which is 60 miles in altitude. So it's 60 miles up right now. It's above the Kármán line as we speak. It's technically in space. And I still see the booster. I should not look away from it, because if you lose it, it's really hard to see again. But it's still that little speck. That's that thing that's still 15 stories tall. Is right now in space and coming back to us.
Wow. Oh, yeah, I lost it.
How you feeling, Mark?
It's emotional, to be honest. Yeah, this is a lot.
There. Okay, see those puffs? See the little puffs of smoke? Right up by that big cloud.
It is.
There it is. It's intercepting with that kind of bigger, long cloud right now from our point of view. And those puffs of smoke are the cold gas thrusters. They're doing a fine-tuning adjustment of its trajectory to make sure it lines up and make sure its orientation is correct and get it pointed perfectly back to the landing pad. So it's now above. I can see the little bips of smoke every now and then. It's very hard to see right now. I still have very little visual on it. But
And
here's
then
the
when
deal.
it does the first burn, about where will it be?
It'll probably be below that cloud that we're seeing right now. I have a very hard time judging it right now, and I did unfortunately lose visual on it myself. But we are coming up on the re-entry burn. Hopefully that'll be a good opportunity to see again, because that does glow pretty bright.
And then we can see, you can see the views here on the screen.
So on the left-hand
Let's step
side,
off the stage, guys, just for safety. Yeah, thanks.
on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the grid fins are deployed already, and it's starting to fall. So you can see it's actually still arcing over. The booster is, oh no, it is falling. The booster's falling right now. It's picking up velocity. It's coming back into the atmosphere. And we're coming up on entry burn ignition, which is in about another less than a minute or so. We'll see the engines light up, 3 of the engines again, and hopefully we'll be able to regain good visual on that again. I'm trying to keep my eyes open.
I mean,
here.
once it lights, there's no missing it, right?
It's not incredibly bright because it's still pretty high up.
Got it.
But they are pointing right at us, which is to our advantage. Have you ever had a rocket engine pointing straight at your face?
No, but I'm excited for it.
It'll still be a good 50 kilometers or so, 30 miles in altitude when it does that.
And that's SatGUS's view right now on the right. You can see that engine's just burning hot.
Yep, so that's the Merlin 1D vacuum engine. We're coming up, still on entry burn coming up soon. Hopefully, how are we doing tracking this? Do we have a good track on that back in the studio? I'm curious. Oh, we got it, they said.
We got it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. We're tracking it with the camera.
Awesome, that's great. So we've got these tracking telescopes that allow us to see the entire thing.
This is like 2 shows for the price of 1, Tim, with the return.
It really is. I mean, the booster landing is, before this, you had just that, which is still really cool.
Yeah.
But now we get it again, basically in reverse, which is awesome. We're coming up on entry burn. You can see on the screen, the left-hand part of the screen, that is a tracking shot of the it re-entering.
No.
So hopefully, keep our eyes up to the skies here. It's probably going to be somewhere around those clouds, maybe higher. I don't have a good visual. Oh, right up there.
Oh, wow.
There it is. Okay. Now here's the deal. Keep your eyes on it. Once entry burn ends, you'll be shocked at how fast it's coming down. So you can still see it smoking.
Wow.
You can still see it. There we go. Look at how fast it's coming down.
Do you see it?
Yeah. Do you see it? It's about to hit these clouds, the little clouds right there.
Wow.
There's the clouds.
That
went
is
through the clouds.
cruising. Wow.
Just falling
That's
back
a
from space.
22-story building.
This part's only 15 stories, but yeah,
That's
it's
true.
still huge. Falling back right to the landing site.
Get out of here.
Look at that. You can see a good smoke trail. This is easy to track now. Get ready. It's going to come up on lighting its engines for the landing burn here at the very last moment. You're going to think like, okay, when's it lighting? When's it lighting? Come on, baby.
Turn it on.
Turn on those engines.
Wow.
But it waits until the last second. There it is. Landing burn, baby. Now, we're not going to hear the sonic boom in the engine for almost another minute again.
Get out of here.
So it is about to land. You'll see on the screens it's about to touch down. It's
Here
deploying
we
its
go.
landing legs. Right there, landing legs deployed. And right about when it touches down is probably when we'll hear the sonic boom. So get ready. Here it comes.
Touchdown!
Yeah, baby. Here comes the sonic booms.
It's like a minute. Wait for it. Maybe science doesn't work.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Yeah.
The rumble!
And that's the landing burn engine rumbling now.
With the delay.
The delay.
Wow!
How awesome is that?
That is so cool.
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? And now stage 2.
Stage 2 is about to turn off its engine, which will officially put SATGUS in orbit. So there's views of the stack. SATGUS is somewhere on that stack of all these other payloads. Did it officially go SECO? Yes, it did. So engine's been cut off. It's now in orbit. SATGUS made it that far so far.
Let's go!
Hopefully that helps you sleep just a little bit better tonight.
That'll help. Wow, okay, there we kind of see the orbit already, right? So again, it's that polar sun-synchronous orbit.
Yeah.
So the Earth can just spin underneath it and get your guys selfies from wherever you're at on the planet.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, that's still the condensation from the rocket re-entry, which is crazy. You can still see smoke trails, but they're going to dissipate here any minute. So, you did it. I mean, that's the first part. But now SATGUS, ironically, is number what?
I think 81st, 82nd.
They're going to deploy 80-some satellites before they get to SATGUS because they just have that many riding this bus.
So at what point do they start actually pooping these things out? Like in about 10 minutes or something?
You know, that's a good question. I think they might have another orbital.
I think they start doing some and there's another burn.
Yeah, there's a second engine ignition and an orbital readjustment. So.
And what's cool is that the whole stage is now moving at that 5 miles per second, basically. You know, you don't need propulsion to get the satellites out. You really, it's just a small spring force that you just push it off and it just glides off, right? And so they do this for all 131 over the next 3 hours. They just kind of push them out. And I think SATGUS is 82nd in line. I think it's like 2 hours after this.
2 hours, 17 minutes, and 44 seconds. I had to write it down.
Okay, there you go. I gotta be honest with you guys, that was kind of emotional for me.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I don't doubt, man. That's big.
That's
Years
cool.
in the making, man.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, growing up, you know, space was always just so, I don't know, I was just always so inspired by space, you know, nothing more, you know, just looking out at the stars and just like, just the way, what it does to your brain, and just thinking about, you know, who we are and the potential of us as humans. And then, you know, I got to work at NASA, and that was an amazing experience with the rover, but like doing your own hardware and also making it like, I don't know, like a full circle moment with you guys. There's a lot of kids' pictures on this thing. And so kind of being that catalyst and the incredible things you guys are going to do to help the world and humanity, this is a moment. This feels really good. Thank you guys so much for coming out here. So we're going to end the live stream here. If you want to watch the actual you know, SATGUS being shot out, you can go over to SpaceX.com/launch, and you kind of watch them as they deploy all the satellites. If it goes black sometimes, that's because there's certain customers who want to be a little bit more secretive. So if the stream goes black, that's why.
And they also have to have ground tracking stations to get. So if it's flying over the ocean right now, there's not a place to transmit the video feed. So there are moments of blackout, but if we're lucky, later in 2 hours or so, we'll actually get a shot of.
Okay, we're gonna do a selfie here to commemorate a safe launch. We got everyone in there. Yeah, so everyone watching on the live stream, thanks so much. You can go over there, and yeah, we'll continue the party here.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, okay. I'll make an announcements after this.